Before we jump into the episode today, I want to share something with you from my heart. First of all, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I really can't tell you how much your support means to me. We've been doing the podcast now for almost 4 years. I can't even believe it. And I'm so grateful for each and every single one of you that listens, shares an episode with your friends, sends me a DM or a text message letting me know how an episode resonated with you or any aha moments. Seriously, I couldn't be more grateful to be able to create this podcast. It has been such a blessing in my life, and I love hearing the ways it's been able to provide value in yours as well. One thing you might not know is how much work it takes to be consistent with a podcast. In fact, did you know that the majority of podcasts don't make it past episode number 10? And we are well beyond that. And it's just a lot thinking of the episodes, recording them, editing them, managing the guests, making sure that everything runs smoothly and gets uploaded consistently and regularly. And so that's why I have created an amazing opportunity for you to support the podcast monetarily. And in exchange for that, you will get exclusive premium subscriber content. So for as little as $3 a month, you can become a premium subscriber of the podcast. And every month I will upload new voice-guided workouts and breathwork meditation audio for you. So that way you can work out with me, coaching you in your ears. You can also take a moment to reduce your stress and relax and come down and ground down with one of my breathwork audios. So if that is on your heart to support the podcast for as little as $3 a month to become a premium podcast subscriber, I can't tell you how much that means to me and the growth of this podcast. I appreciate you. If you're interested, click the link in the description, become a premium podcast subscriber, new content every month, and while supplies last, I'll send you an exclusive podcast coffee mug so you can have your self-love and sweat coffee every morning. I appreciate you. Now let's get into the show. Welcome to Self-Love and Sweat, the podcast, the place where you'll get inspired to live your life unapologetically, embrace your perfect imperfections, break down barriers, and do what sets your soul on fire. I'm your host, Lunden Souza. Hey, have you grabbed your free Self-Love and Sweat monthly calendar yet? This calendar is so amazing. It comes right in your inbox every single month to help you have a little nugget of wisdom, a sweaty workout, a mindset activity, just a little something to help keep you focused and motivated and keep that momentum towards your goals. So every day when you get this calendar, you'll see a link that you can click that will lead to a podcast episode or a workout or something that will be very powerful and quick to read. And then you'll also see on the top left corner of every single day, there's a little checkbox in the calendar. And what that is that's for your one thing. You can choose one thing every month, or it can be the same, something that you want to implement, and make this something that you can easily implement, like daily meditation or getting a certain amount of steps or water, for example, and staying hydrated, and even taking your supplements. This can be something if you want to get more regular doing a particular habit and routine, you can choose what that checkbox means. So if you want your Self-Love and Sweat free monthly calendar delivered right to your inbox every month on the first of the month, go to lifelikeLondon.com/calendar, fill out the form really quickly, and you will have your calendar in your inbox within a few short minutes. That's lifelikeLondon, lifelikeLondon.com/calendar. Go get yours for free and enjoy this episode. Welcome back to Self-Love and Sweat, the podcast. Today we have Stacey Millhorn as our guest, and I connected with Stacey because I went to her place of business. She owns Pure Sweat and Float in South Jordan and in Park City, Utah. And since I recently moved to Utah, I had the chance to go to actually both of her studios to do sauna, to do the float suite experience, to just, nurture and love on myself. I brought my mom there. I brought my best friend Kara there for her birthday when she came to visit. So I'm just so excited to talk to you today, Stacey. Stacey, like I said, owns Pure Sweat and Float in South Jordan and Park City. She's also a Frenchie mom and has four-legged babies, loves to travel, and as a wife, lives in Utah. So welcome to the podcast, Stacey. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Thank you, London. I'm so excited we get to have this conversation and that you've had the opportunity to experience the studios firsthand.
Yeah, it was so great to be there. I had floated before, in a variety of different, let's say, settings, places, ways, whatever. But I love being in your studios. I love it. From the start to when you get there to the little shoes that you put on that are cushiony to the room you
Yes.
go in and you have your robe. And then I do my sauna and I can use you guys have like fascial release massage tools within the sauna. So I'm always like getting up in my
Yes.
calves and in my glutes and
Yeah.
stretching. And then I go into the shower and then I rinse off and then I go into the float tank and then I shower again and I wash my hair and I use all the elixirs and things for my skin. It's just like
Yes.
such a fun experience. And so I think of course, it's great to go into places of businesses and have great experiences, but then I'm always like, who's the person behind this? Like, where did this
Oh,
come from? And I
yes.
think it was Keegan that I talked to in your in the Park City location the first time I ever went. And he was, talking about you and how wonderful you are and just all the things. So
Oh,
tell us
well,
more
thank
about
you.
you. Like, how did you, move around from place to place, land in Utah, and what inspired you to start these businesses? Because I'm so excited
Yeah.
to go. One's right
So
down the street
we
from my house.
Right by your house. Thank
Yep.
goodness. I know it's so great. So we are Florida kids. I was born up north. We moved around a little bit, but was raised in Central Florida, as was my husband. And with COVID, I was in pharmaceutical sales for 27 years. So I was a talking head for quite some time. And we just said if we ever wanted to try living somewhere else, now's the time to do it. His birthday's in March. We love spring skiing, and it was Colorado or Utah. And he still commutes back to Florida. And as you know, the Salt Lake airport is just so easy.
So
So we chose Utah, and within 30, 40 minutes, we're out in the canyons. We rented a place out there, fell in love with Utah, and went home and sold our house. As far as the business is concerned, I was a client in Nashville. So I unfortunately just by genetics have had loose shoulders and chronic pain and jaw stuff that goes on. And so I found Pure Sweat in Nashville. They have sunlight and saunas as we do now in the studios. And so they use far, mid, and near infrared. Most infrared is only far. The mid targets muscles and joints. So for me, it was very healing, not only from a feeling perspective, but I was able to get off a lot of the medications that they were giving me that just made me feel kind of crummy. And then they introduced me to floating. So at first, I just thought, why do you want me to lay in that water? And I went ahead and did it and had like the best night's sleep and really started to use the modalities together. But when we moved to Utah, there was nothing like it. And I think, like you said, you'd floated in some different places, been in some different things. Some things that are really important to us is that it is a spa-like feel, that clients walk in the door. The intent of changing your shoes to those squishy shoes is to just kind of give you a break between the outside world and the studio. And getting those squishy slides on is very comfortable. And then we've got, specifically curated retail that complements the services. And to your point, you then have a private experience where you can work out or use it as recovery. The float is amazing and very different than most float places. And then we do offer our little vanity area, and we love working with local businesses. So we have Kalahari Rose Skincare that's made here in Utah. That's back on the dry bar that you can use, and some other natural products. So not only was it something honestly, selfishly that I wanted here, but there just was no other experience like it here. And so my passion behind it was me having all the positive experiences that I did in a healing modality, and how could I share that with our community?
Mm, heck yeah. And I resonate so much with what you shared in the beginning of just like, there's no time like now. It's time to make moves. My mom often says, London, when you're feeling froggy, you got to jump. And that froggy feeling of just like you're on the leap pad, ready to go. That's, when I moved to
I love
Utah
that.
last year, it was between Arizona and Utah. And I was kind of like made this list of things I wanted and just like, it was kind of a flip of the coin, but it was summer. So I had a friend lived in Arizona that was like, Lunden, I don't think you want to move to Arizona in the pit of summer. Like
So
maybe
hot.
Utah's better. So I was like, okay, I'll go there for a month, see how I like it. Sold, loved it. And yeah, I think it's cool because when I moved to Austria in 2012, 13, there were a lot of things that didn't exist yet. And then when I moved there, not to say that I
Mm,
caused it, but I was like, oh, this store and this in my neighborhood. And oh, yeah, all the things that I would want are there. So when I moved here and then I'm like, oh, this is right down the street from my house. It's just so nice to have those resources and those modalities to plug in to plug in and charge or even unplug and like you said heal your
exactly.
body and learn more about ways to kind of naturally do that and wean yourself off maybe some of the medications or just not have that be the only solution, right? I think sometimes it can
Exactly.
be helpful, but having a lot of tools, and I feel like you guys have so many great tools in your facility. Were you
We
how did
do.
you feel to move to Utah? Like what did like, just I mean, I've moved a lot of places. I know those listening maybe want to or have. It's not easy to just like pick up and go somewhere else and start over. I often say
It's
it's like
not.
interesting making friends as adults. It's just different, when you're moving places.
Totally.
What was that like for you, Stacey?
Yeah, so we did a stint through Nashville. So we were Florida for a very long time, 5 years in Nashville. Thankfully, I had a very good friend that was already in Nashville, so that was helpful. Still, like you said, it's hard building a new community as an adult. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if we just get out of our childlike play of walking up to someone and being like, hi, my name's Stacy, because I look at my nieces and nephews and my nephew is 5 years old and he will walk up to an adult and say, hello, my name is Henry Dixon. And I'm like, where along the way do we lose that, right? Like, I
Yeah.
just want to walk up to people. And so I don't know what it is about Utah. I don't know if many of us are transplants like you and I, but I have found myself to be more vulnerable and just walking up to people. But I feel like there's more of a true connection and I cannot put my finger on it, but our neighbors, people, I mean, I've met people in restaurants and med spas and whatnot and just saying, hey, my name's Stacey. How are you? I don't know. Again, I don't know what it is about the community. If we're just all a little bit more open and because we've moved here from other places and we're seeking, a healthy lifestyle, I find that most people that we end up talking to are doing races or sound baths, light therapy, astrology. Like it's just, I don't know, the community is more open to things. And so I actually am finding it easier to connect with people authentically here, which has
Mhm.
been so refreshing. And honestly, this studio has allowed me to become part of a community. I obviously invite people and I want everyone to try this because I think there's still a huge misunderstanding about what we're doing and just people don't know floating and maybe they think a traditional sauna is like infrared, but having people come in and watch them go on a journey for themselves, regardless of what that is, and then start to share it with other people like you did, makes me feel very plugged in. And
Mm.
even if these aren't people that I'm like going to dinner with or doing whatever, like I feel like we have become a resource for the community. And, personally becoming more ingrained in it. So it's been interesting to, have that happen over the last 13 months.
Yeah, I love that. I feel the same too. And I didn't think of it as that kid thing of like, hi, my name's London, want to play? But I find myself kind of doing that, And when I moved here, yeah, a little of Utah, a little of me, maybe you feel that way too. It was like I was just able to land and it felt like home. And then, yeah, I have neighbors who like invite me over for dinner or like they made extra leftovers and vice versa. And we bring
Oh,
that to each other. And I'm like, that is so cool. That is something I didn't realize I needed to really land and feel good and connect with others. And yeah, if there's something that's cool that's happening, I want to be there. And sometimes I'm organizing
yes.
events or dinners or whatever, just for people to get to know each other and have those moments of like, hey, you know, who I am as a kid is not who I am now. And I'm sure you feel that way too. It's like you evolve and grow and change. And
Yes.
that representing of yourself to adults and people and new connections, I just feel like is so beautiful. And it's like that playground equivalent of what you have, as a kid. It's like I feel like I
Hmm.
can't not put myself, I am a little bit introverted. I like to have my alone time. We talked a little bit about this
Same.
before we started recording, but there's something about me that lights up that I like when I'm around more people that are up leveling and growing too. And it's kind of like, oh,
Yes,
I unleash more capacity within myself while I'm connecting with you, even in this conversation. And that's really cool.
totally.
And I found that too in
I
Utah.
I, like you, have found networking, connecting people. Candace, our founder, always says, "What's your superpower?" And it fills my cup to watch our community through the studio, but I love connecting people. So we've got a physical therapist here who I adore. She had a horrible concussion from a climbing accident and was put
Mm,
into a traditional concussion protocol, and that wasn't serving her. And so she's gone out on her own. And so she now has Happy Brain Physical Therapy where she really focuses on concussion. Well, then I was introduced to Save a Brain. Kelsey had a horrible snowboarding accident. Basically, it's a really tragic, thankfully positive story, but had a horrible concussion. Friends got her into the hospital. Had it been 24 hours later, she may not have been here. And so
mm,
born out of these personal experiences have come Save a Brain, this amazing community where they're doing helmet checks and the safety of our, kids and athletes. And here's Annie who has taken something what she had. And so I was like, I mean, the second I met Kelsey, I already knew Annie. I was like, okay, you two need to be
yep.
together. And so
Mm-hmm.
watching what, the being the spark and watching what they've been able to do together. And now that they're able to provide people with a scholarship to go through their program or whatnot, it feels so good watching those things bloom and grow from, like you said, like I've got this person over here and maybe a group over here. And so how can I be instrumental in, bringing that to a bigger, like something bigger and better for the community. And then, even for their businesses.
Yeah, when your brain just goes, when you meet people and you're like, oh, you guys need to know each other.
Totally.
I'm that way too. Sometimes I have a friend, Jana, who's that way too. And it's like everyone she connects me with, I get so excited because I know they're so great and inspiring and all of that. And I also know that connecting with people enough to then remember and understand and then connect them, right, takes an amount of presence and awareness and connection and the ability to be with someone and not somewhere else. And you're also running businesses and leading and doing all the things, right? So
Yeah.
I ask this because I feel like I'm in it too. And I want to learn from you too, is like, how do you lead and show up and then still be present for these connections and still make these connections within people. But then also you have your employees and teams and things that, right? Like
Right.
that's a lot of, a lot of the show to run, let's say. And I know it takes a lot of
Yeah.
capacity. So like, how do you do that? Any tips?
A lot of balls in the air. I joke with Susan from Kalahari Rose. I'm like, it's like you're at a circus or a show and the spinning plates. I'm like, whichever one's getting ready to fall is the one you've got to, grab. And so you're right. It is managing, and balancing a lot of things. But I think from a team perspective, I was in, like I said, sales for a long period of time. So I think the marketing and sales aspect, connecting with people and being able to educate is definitely a strength that I have.
Yeah.
Sharing that with the team. So working with them one-on-one or in a group setting about what are we really here for? And it is connection to our community and helping people either on a wellness journey that they're already on or helping them create one. A lot of people, are being diagnosed with heavy metal or mold toxicity and being told you need to go sauna or buy a sauna, and they're like, buy a sauna. So they come in and our biggest thing is learning. I love to know how people heard about us, but it's more important for me to know the why. And that could range from skin, stress, toxicity, performance, recovery. And so being able to then connect with them where they are, we then start talking about a discovery phase. So if you're discovery phase 1, it's what is this place? What is infrared sauna? And then we know how to recommend maybe supplements or ways to use the sauna. Like you said, you like using the muscle roller and the lacrosse ball. We also have little hand weights and resistance bands. So I think for me, teaching the team that yes, we are a business. In order to stay in business, we have to make money. But how are we connecting with the clients where they are and then helping them get to, a future phase or a better phase? Juggling 2 studios has been interesting there. I'm out in Camas. So Park City was very selfish of starting it first because I wanted it close. And then we're in the district, but our neighborhoods are both very similar. So we've got Orange Theory, Prime IV, we've got
Mhm.
yoga studios, joint chiropractic. So the feel in both of the neighborhoods is very similar, which
Agreed.
is great because we love to partner and collaborate with other wellness businesses and non-wellness businesses. But that's been really nice. We've got some clients that are like, I love coming here and doing a sauna and then going to Prime IV. So that community connection has been great. And I'm learning. I mean, I am a wide open, vulnerable book right now. My mom always told me you have an entrepreneurial spirit, and I didn't really know what that meant. Managers and directors through my career always said you have a very entrepreneurial, you run your business, right? You're not just like going out, seeing a doctor, checking the box, or like doing a lunch. So I think there's always been this in me, but taking it from I'm in a corporate environment to this is my business and how do I run this business and what are, avenues and tactics and things you can do within a business. I'm very much learning. And thankfully, we've got a new area director in Nashville. She's come into the franchise and she's done these types of things before. So I had just said, hey guys, I know I'm doing this well, but what else can you teach me? So I'm 49 years old and this has been
Mhm.
the last 2 years. I mean, learning about real estate, broker real estate, like how do you get commercial space and like learning about a build out and all these different things. So I feel like I'm very much a student still in some aspects of this, which is exciting because I love to learn.
Yeah, same. Always be learning. And,
Yes.
you know, tapping into that like inner knowing of, I don't know yet, but I'll find a way, or I'll find someone, or I'll meet someone that could teach me how to do that. And like you said, I love what you said, where you're like, I know I'm really good at this, right? It's so great to be able to identify our areas of strength and nurture those and, go forward. But then, what am I not seeing? Give me some perspective. Help me see the water, when I'm the fish. Like, tell me what I don't know yet.
Yes.
How can you help me? That's really how I feel too. So I just was, yeah, it's nice, when we think, entrepreneurs or business owners or directors or running, it's like it's hard to, imagine the day to day if you're not in it. And I think too, it's nice to know that, to hear it from you, I would just say it feels good to know that you feel like, you're still learning all the time and you're just showing up with your best and making your best matter and, increase your
Yeah.
capacity when you need to. So super powerful. And for the sake of being a student, let's talk more about infrared and float and why it's so potent and powerful. And yeah, we can start with sauna because that's kind of the how
Yeah.
I go through the flow of when I get there. I love
Yes.
sauna-ing. I've been sauna-ing for a while. When I lived in Europe, sauna culture was huge, right? So it was like everyone dry sauna, wet sauna, everybody's there, everyone's naked, boys, girls, old,
Yeah.
young, whatever, right? We're just like all sweating,
Yes.
which was great because at first I was uncomfortable with that until I lived there for 8 years and it became not such a big deal, right? But love
Yes.
sauna. I know there's different kinds. You mentioned like mid, far, infrared. I also work
Yep.
out at Hotworks every day. So I love the sauna. And then I love coming to your sauna and stretching and recovery and all of that. I've gotten to
Yeah.
the point now where, yeah, daily sauna just is like my fave. I love the sweat. I love the detox. I love the movement. I love the way my skin feels.
Yes.
And I just like, being in there and it's hot and like listening to a meditation or some music or whatever and just kind of like getting lost in my body, to be honest, like just like the sweat and massaging things. So, what are some of those powerful benefits of infrared and why do we need to be doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I love that you just like embrace it. And it's so interesting because sauna has been around, to your point, for ages. And the US is like kind of just figuring it out, some of these
Mm-hmm.
alternative modalities, which is so cool to be in a phase of education, and learning from people like you that have done it for so long. So most people hear sauna and they do think traditional sauna. Gym is where you're finding it most in the US, or a hotel. You open the door, it's 200 plus degrees. They tell you to get out if you can make it in 10 minutes. They usually smell a little moldy, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not super comfortable. There are some people out there that really love that form of sauna, and that's great. But infrared is going to heat you at a cellular level. So where those traditional saunas, they're heating the air around you. So yeah, you're going to sweat. I mean, how could you not sweat 200 degrees? But the infrared is heating your body. So Sunlighten is the industry leader in using multiple wavelengths of light. So HotWorks uses far. A lot of yoga studios that are heated use far, and that's good. You're getting one wavelength, if you will. So that far is penetrating your body the farthest. The sunlight and added mid. So for me, that was really important. That's muscles and
Muscle.
joints. It's
Okay.
also great. Yeah. Cardiovascular health, mental health is positively impacted, which is great. Seasonal affect, it's crazy. I had people last year that are like, I'm really experiencing seasonal affect and I'm going to the tanning bed. And I'm
Oh,
like, do not go to UV. Now you're going to give yourself cancer and treat your seasonal affect. But I did not ever understand seasonal affect living in Florida. Going through Nashville, it was a really big shock. There's more rain in Nashville than there is in Seattle. So when it's gray and rainy, it is days of it. And my
yeah.
husband was still commuting to Florida and I was like, I feel weird. Get in the sauna. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, yes. So there's data on that. And then the near is wonderful, like you said, for skin. I love the way my skin looks after
Mm.
sauna and using sauna regularly. So that's just penetrating your body the least. So you're getting it in a little bit of the muscle, but it's really good for eczema. We've got a team member, his whole trunk was covered in eczema and it's gone. So it's pretty amazing. Again, that's all that underlying inflammation, which we all have. I had no idea in Utah how much heavy metal we have from all the mining and the copper out in like the Daybreak area. Um, so helping with that. And then mold, unfortunately, is so prevalent. So using the infrared sauna helps with that as well. And to your
Mm.
point, HotWorks is going to give you a space where you can really focus on working out, where we've got private saunas. They're 6 feet long. They're custom made. So they're large enough for two people. I love doing a sauna by myself. Like you, I like to either use the lacrosse ball or muscle roller or whatnot, get some added, therapy in there. I have done sauna with my husband, but he too likes to stretch out. He uses it
Mm.
as a zone 2 recovery. And then sunlight, and we have added chromotherapy, so light therapy. And I initially just thought like, oh, it's really nice. We've got some little cards that tell you, red's really
Yeah.
good for circulation and orange is really good for kind of breaking up body fat in your midsection. Well, I did a podcast with an energy healer. She uses light for trauma and it guides her through the process. She's gone through this whole program, actually in Arizona, I believe.
Cool.
And I reached out to Sunlight and said, is there rhyme or reason to the light? And they said, yes, they worked with a researcher at Wake Forest who uses light therapy because each color of light has its own frequency. So I learned whether you can see it or not, the light is helping you in some way. Well, ironically, blue is your throat chakra. And
Mm-hmm.
I was on my neck, jaw, shoulder. So not only was the infrared helping me, but I usually leave it on blue. We have a lot of people that do like red. I also love violet in the evening. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different modalities happening and all you have to do is sit in the sauna. To your point, it's not uncomfortable. I've some people lately that have said that sitting in the sauna feels like vacation. You can go in there and work on meditation. We strongly encourage breath work. So like
Mm-hmm.
box breathing or any other type of breathing that people are working on, just really helps with, calming down the nervous system. And to your point, then we call it a detox de-stress. So from the sauna to the float.
Yeah. Yeah. The sauna feels so amazing. I love that. Yeah, that sweat and that just kind of disconnect. But yeah, it's hard at first for people that are not used to sitting with themselves at all. So yeah, then you're in a place by yourself with your own thoughts and it's hot, right? And those are the work ins that I often talk about. It's like we do our
Yes.
workouts, right? Physical fitness, but what about when it comes time to sitting within and our thoughts and the to-dos and I don't have time for this or what's this person think about, like all the things, right? But I think
Yeah.
over the years of meditating and sauna and stuff like that, it feels really fun to be able to turn off and disconnect. And I feel like I'm having like a little staycation when I go into the studio because I'm there for a couple hours
Yes.
and it just feels so great. Um, so then the next step, yeah, is the float tank. And so for those of you that have never been to a float suite or anything like that, so I guess the difference, the float suite is what they have at, what you guys have at Pure Sweat and Float.
Hmm.
Those are the ones where it's kind of like you're opening like a big fridge almost. It suctions and you open up and you step into. And then I've also been in ones too that I guess are pods where it kind of opens up
Hmm.
like a clamshell and then you go in. And anyways, the idea of it is that you're in a very shallow, body temperature. So not super cold, not hot, not cold plunge, not sauna, but very baseline temperature. And it's super, super salty. So it's like the Dead Sea effect where you go in there and it's so salty that you float. So you're in this suite and you step in and the water's, pretty shallow. And you just lean back and surrender. And then I always, when I go to, the times I've gone to the studio, I just tell whoever's working at the front, Mickey or whatever, and I'm just like, pick whatever noise, like whatever you want to play. I know you
Oh,
guys have different audios. I just let them choose because I'm like, what
yes.
do you think? Tell me.
Surprise me.
So yeah, surprise me. And, I'll be relaxed regardless, but it's super cool because you just float. And somehow, the salt to water ratio is perfect because then the water only comes to the side of your face. It doesn't get in your eyes. It's not like, and you just lay there. And I love it because, you lose track of time. I don't know. Did I go to sleep? Am I awake? Did I just start? Is it almost over? I like that feeling when you almost don't feel the water because you're so
Yes.
still, right? And you just like, you're floating. It's super cool. So what are all the benefits of that? And, I love it. So this is so cool.
First, I love the word that you use, surrender,
Mm-hmm.
because we tell people it will take about 3 times to find comfort in the float for some people. Some people first float, they trust the water, they relax. 15, 20 minutes in, they're in that theta state, which is that not quite awake, not quite sleeping. And to your point, my husband always says it feels like he's had a massage, but better. And he comes out and he feels like he's taken or had a night's sleep. So it's that sensory deprivation. So you're in a space with no phone, no computer, no external noise, which we have a very hard time finding in our communities these days.
Mm-hmm.
And there's stars on the ceiling, soundtrack, like you said, like heart chakra, Tibetan bowls and things underwater. And there's a light underwater. You have control in the suite. If you want to go sensory deprivation, no sound, no light, you can do that. And there's a lot of people that use it that way. I love floating with the stars on the ceiling and soundtrack underwater. It's 7 feet tall and 7 feet long. So for people that have been concerned about being claustrophobic or enclosed, they don't have to worry about that. And the stars actually start to reflect off the walls. So it feels larger than smaller once you're in that space.
Mm-hmm.
There's 1,500 pounds of medical grade Epsom salt in there. So to your point, that water salt ratio, we're constantly testing. So as soon as you lay back, and it's only about 10 to 12 inches of water, as soon as you lay back, you are up on that water. And as you settle in that body temperature water, you start to become one with, and you can just drift off. We have some people that use it for creative outlets. So they're prepping or planning for something, or they've got a big decision coming. They will float and allow their brain to go through that process of just processing and, whatever they need. We have some people that have had injuries that they find because you're buoyant and you're in alignment. The Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate, which majority of us are deficient in anyways. And so your body's drinking in that magnesium. So it's going to help to lower cortisol levels, which we all need, improvement in sleep, which is always wonderful. And then muscle recovery. We have had athletes seek us out, or other people who have unfortunately had concussion or traumatic brain injury. Because you're in there without that external stimuli, you go into rest and digest versus fight or flight. We have had some people, it's interesting to talk to people after they float. They're very like, like kind of in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
And some people will say this wasn't for me. And so one thing that we've challenged ourselves on is asking people if they're willing to share with us why. And to your point, going back to, we are not used to being alone with our thoughts. And that can be hard. That can be hard. And so we challenge people, how do you show up in other aspects of your life? Like when things get hard, do you walk away? When things get hard, do you bury your emotions and your feelings? Because maybe the float is a place for you to be safe. Like you said, you're in a spa-like environment. Our team is very kind. And maybe this is your time to go into a space alone to explore that in yourself. And so that's been interesting too. I mean, life is hard, challenges. And so if you found the float to be a challenge, maybe it's an area for you to go deeper.
Heck yeah. I love that. I love that you go deeper, right? It's not just like, oh, you didn't like it. Sorry, maybe not for you, whatever. But like, how do you show up to hard things, right? Those work ins,
Exactly.
as a society have gotten really good at communicating what workouts we need to do and how to get rid of this and how many but it's like, I know it's coming more and more. And I also know it's because it's the people I surround myself with. It's the methods of healing and stuff that I choose to engage with. So for me, it's very, a big part of my life to work on those work-ins and sitting with ourselves. But yeah, when we spend most of our day hurrying and rushing and doing all the things or doing other things to mask and not feel. Yeah. When you go
Yeah.
into a water tub that matches your water temperature of your body exactly, nothing too cold, Goldilocks zone. You don't even know that it's there,
Totally.
right? It's dark. Like there's no noise. You have earplugs in your ears and then you're under that water. So the salt doesn't get all up in there, right? It's so it can be like when I talk about it, it's like, it's so, I love it. I love to, but I get it because when you don't go there very often, it's like a dark closet with a shadow, of like the
Yes.
monster in the closet. And you're like, oh shit, I have not sat with all these thoughts and heard what and all that. And some people just want to get out and be done.
Yes.
I was interested on how my mom would like it too, because she's very much like, gets all the stuff done, is, living in, 2 months ahead of time, and I'm always, loving her and back into that present moment. But
Aw.
she's like, oh my gosh, that was so interesting. And she just came out like in this daze. And my mom's very like type A, always in high beta brainwave state. So like, you could just tell she was just like more theta-y and I was just like, yeah, awesome, And even it
Yes.
was cute because even, Keegan and the other girl that was there working, I can't remember her name, but I had told, we could tell my mom was kind of nervous, and I was like, just to get her to do all the things, right? She had flown to visit me, which was very much out of her comfort zone of flying by
Aw.
herself, whatever. So it was cute because that day we weren't only there to sauna and float. Your team was also like there knowing that it was a struggle for my mom and she was going to be out of her comfort zone. And then she came out and she's like, oh, my hair's all over the place and I don't know where I'm at and da 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 da. And we were all kind of silently celebrating because those are,
Yes.
those people, there's a lot of us even listening. We work hard. We have a lot to do. We all do. Right. But we can't, I see these moments of what we get to do in your studio and others. It's like, it's making the rock bigger. So when it goes into the pond, you make a bigger ripple instead of throwing all these little rocks into the pond all day
Yes.
long, it's like, we can recover and increase our capacity. I'm reading this bomb book right now. It's called 10X is Easier Than 2X. It's really good. You should read it,
I've heard of
Stacey. Yeah.
it. Okay,
So
I
good,
will.
right? So it
Okay.
talks about that and about how like people that perform at a high level and that 10X mentality rather than 2X, they recover. They turn off. They
Mm,
schedule that ahead of time. They have a no phone for a week just to create, right? To your point of those people that come in and just lay in the float tank and let their mind and ideas wander and let those
yeah.
downloads come in, right? We need to create that for ourselves. And I think what I'm getting away from that book is like, it's so cool if you can do more in less time and you can line it up and knock it down and multitask. Okay, great. But at some point you hit a ceiling. There's like a finiteness of the time and what we can do and all of that. And so this book has been really interesting because it shifts my mind of thinking like, how can we double month over month or year over year, but what mindset do I need to tap into to then 10X, right? Which is very different,
Mm-hmm.
right? What you would need strategy, brain wise to 10X is different than for 2X, right? All of it. So
Absolutely.
when I look at that and I see people who don't have time and want to get more done and line it up and knock it down, actually the research is showing that if you want like the big success, not the 2X success, but the 10X, it's like we have to take that time to tell our brain like, nope, we're not staying in those states. We have to go here so we can tap into more
Yeah.
of our potential and then bring that back to then the other brainwave states, right? It's like we get to travel within these different brainwave states to bring information, to heal different
Yep.
things, to let go, to bring in. And so, we say we want to do more and we have all the things to do and we're so busy. But if people really wanted to excel and make a bigger impact, that surrender piece, that nourishing piece, the magnesium, the lights, all of that
Yes.
stuff that's working to help our physical body is going to help us so much more than if we were to go 100 miles per hour trying to do all
Yeah.
the things. And so anyone listening, invitation to slow down and
Slow
sauna
down.
and float.
It's interesting. I had in pharma a manager who really just took things differently. Normally it's, go, 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 drive, 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 numbers, perform. He it was the first person that ever said, you need to slow down to speed up. And it was, if you need to take a few hours on a Monday or a whatever day and plan and connect and get things in the future set up for yourself. And it was so refreshing because instead of just being in the rat race and going and like, I'll deal with the next thing, I've told my team the same thing. Slow down, have a conversation. It's okay if someone is 2 or 3 minutes late into their appointment because you were able to connect with them or find some way that you can help them, or even yourself. Like, they get a lot out of being in the studio and talking with people. It's pretty amazing, but we are not a culture wired to recover. I mean, look, like these athletes and just people in general, and like, go, 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 to your point, like, I need to work out 6 days a week and da, 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 da. It's like, also, if you don't give yourself a break, like, there is a breaking point. So if you
Mhm.
don't plan some recovery or don't plan some downtime, we're always operating like, hurry, hurry, hurry.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And in that book, he was talking about, to your point of professional athletes and LeBron James and how he's one
Hmm.
of the athletes that invests the most in his recovery out of all athletes, like millions of dollars a
Wow.
year in that. Of course, that's within his budget, right?
Right.
But he's now, and I'm almost, because I just was listening to this chapter, I listened to it twice this morning, but now he's at 50,000 hours of game playing. And most people's bodies tap out completely and are donezo by 40,000 hours, and he's crushing it. And a lot of that
Wow.
is he's equated to like that recovery. And of course, when you have teams, orchestrating your recovery, it's different, but it starts where you
Right.
are, right? So we're not
Yeah.
LeBron James. I don't have millions to spend on my personal recovery, but I am going to go
Right.
float every other week and do my sauna and do all the things because it's
Yeah.
going to be an investment in the longevity of our physical body. And it's like, if we don't have that, then it doesn't matter what our soul wants or what we desire or what we're pursuing or what we're passionate about. My friend Kevin, I love him. He's so great. He's like in his 60s. He's a pastor. I love him. He's so cool. He always tells me, London, you can't walk the walk if you can't walk. And it's like a reminder of like, you can't
So
do the
true.
things if you can't walk and get your
Yes.
body moving and recover and do, walk, let's say, is a very loose term for like all the things to do to take care of your physical body, right? So then you can
Yes.
actually do the thing, right? Intention has no good if you like are physically out of shape and haven't taken care of yourself and you have, a to-do list up to here and brain fog and, areas that you haven't healed for yourself or whatever,
Yeah.
it's like, it becomes a lot. So I think about that. It's like, I want to, I don't know how long I'm here and it could be today, it could be
Right.
tomorrow, whatever, but I want to like feel good and fluid in my body. And I want to be able to try things physically with my body, but then also push myself, mentally even further because I've taken care of my body. So I'm so grateful for the places you've planted because
Yeah.
one's right in my backyard and I feel so lucky to have that. And it's just cool that people, like you said, we're not a culture that's wired for recovery. I think in Europe too, because I lived there for a long time, it was just like in German, it was just Pause. That's what you say. It's like a pause. It's just
Mhm.
like, no, you just
Yes.
don't do those things during like it. This is the day that you sauna and chill and you're with your family and you're outside and you're gardening and you're eating good food that you prep from scratch without, and here we're just
Yeah.
like, let's do all the things. Everything's open 24 hours. Let's work on
Right.
Sunday, team no sleep, all of that stuff. And so it's just, I'm excited because I feel like the spheres that we're in are doing more of those things. And then I just see these
Yeah.
little Venn diagrams or these little ripples just crossing over. And like you said, who you meet and you connect, and then we learn more about this. That's what I'm most excited about in my life right now are all those little micro moments of connection and cross collaboration. And I'm so
Yes.
happy that I met you. And then we get to continue to do cool things. And what I'm most excited about is that cross collaboration and learning. So thanks
Me
for
too.
sharing your wisdom today.
Oh my
If
gosh.
there's
Thank you.
one thing, you want to share to our listeners, any last thoughts or calls to action of, reminding them, taking time for themselves, whatever you feel like, what's something you want to share to kind of
Yeah.
sign us off today? And then we'll talk about how to connect with you further.
Absolutely. I just think, I mean, if you have a body, you should be in our studio.
Mm,
We're seeing kids that are benefiting, teenagers with, high anxiety levels are coming with their parents. As a parent, as a person, I'm not a parent, I've got fur babies, but we're all doing something. And so stopping and taking some time for yourself, it's 45 minutes for a sauna. We have 40-minute and 60-minute floats, but whether that's planning it. It's also a great way to reconnect. We've got people that'll come sauna and or float together. And being in that quiet space, one of our ambassadors, she came for her anniversary and she said, we got in the float at first and we kind of were just giggling and whatnot. She goes, then we just both looked up at the stars and we put our hands on each other and just sat in that quiet space. And I just thought that was so beautiful to take that time for those two to reconnect in a way that there's not really a way like that. I mean, you go on a walk or something and walk quietly, but, I think try it. If you're hesitant, I promise you, as the experience you and specifically your mom had, we really are here to help. It is not transactional. It does not feel medicinal. We really want to take care of people as soon as they walk in the door to the time that they leave. So if you're hesitant, we have an intro packs and memberships, and there's little ways for you to kind of dip your toe in the water, so to speak, that will feel safe.
I love that. Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for when my next time is to go. And thank you so much for being here, Stacey, and sharing more about you and your heart and also your brain and knowledge about these great healing tools. I'll put all the links to your studios in South Jordan and in Park City down below. Get connected with Stacey. Go visit one of her studios because it's definitely such a great experience. You step into a whole different world. And then I feel like when I come out, I'm refreshed and renewed in a very cool way. I'll also link, your Instagram, websites, all the things to get connected there. Awesome. Thank you, Stacey, for your time. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Lunden. It was so nice talking with you. I really enjoyed it.
Same. Thank you guys for listening.
We'll see you in the studio soon.
Yeah. I can't wait to be back. In fact, as we were talking, I was thinking in my head, I usually book one when I leave. I don't know when that is, but I actually, I'm curious to know because I want to get excited for it. I always plan them out.
Yes.
Thanks for being here. And thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions or anything, as always, shoot us a DM on Instagram and we'll see you at the next episode. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Self-Love and Sweat, the podcast. Hey, do me a favor. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, give us a review. This really helps a lot. And share this with a friend. I'm only one person, and with your help, we can really spread the message of self-love and sweat and change more lives all around the world. I'm Lunden Souza, reminding you that you deserve a life full of passion, presence, and purpose, fueled by self-love and sweat. This podcast is a Hit Spot Austria production.